Welcome to the Be Circle podcast. Together, let's be all God called us to be. Let's dive in.
Hey guys, welcome to the Be Circle. We're so glad you joined us today. Go ahead and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Apple and Spotify too while you're at it.
Whoa, look at you.
What happened to that? I'm Tish.
I'm PA.
I'm Julie.
I'm Breezy.
Welcome to the B Circle.
We practiced that, but Tish forgot.
Yeah.
I hate doing that part.
But that's okay. You got the Spotify and the Apple in there. We
Yeah.
never do that. So see, that's good. You did good.
Better together, girls.
Better together. I'm telling you, we're learning from each other. Hey, that's how you grow, right?
It is how you grow.
Glory,
Absolutely.
glory. We're so glad that you guys are watching,
Yes.
listening. We thank you for that. But we just thought today would be a good topic to talk about. And Tish, you're going to carry it for us on how not to be afraid. I know that many times we struggle with fear in our life. And it's not always clear how fear was invited in.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes in order to conquer a fear, we have to find out where we open the door to fear.
That's good.
Because we're afraid of things.
Right.
And how did we become afraid of it? Who told you? Remember when they said to Eve, who told you were naked?
Mm-hmm.
Who told you that?
Yeah.
So my question is, who told you to be afraid?
Right.
Wow.
When he said, fear not, fear not, fear not, fear not, fear not, fear not, fear not.
Yeah.
So
You know,
jump in.
when I was studying this out, it sounds, this one's on repeat a lot for most people, but it's 2 Timothy 1:7. God does not give us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And I'll never forget, I was preparing to go to Africa right after COVID. And during COVID, I just thought all my dreams of being on the mission field, like I just thought everything was crushed, that I was done. I was never going to get to go back. I mean, I just had this pit inside because I was like, my whole life, like everything's just over with. And I went through a weird season with all of that. And so then when, in 2021, when God said, no, plan this trip, it was March. So we're still right in the middle of COVID. Africa, everything's locked down. I contacted Pastor Willie and I said, I know this sounds so crazy. I said, but I'm bringing a team and I'm coming to see you. And he said, in the middle of a pandemic? I said,
I can see my Pastor Willie.
Pastor Willie,
I said, yes, sir. And I said, I know this is crazy, but I just keep feeling like I just have to do it. And I'll be honest, the thought of leading a team in the middle of a pandemic, the fear started setting in me.
Sure, yeah.
Because when we got over there, you had to get off the plane and immediately quarantine for a day. And then if you take a test, if your test came back negative, you were quarantined in that place and you couldn't get out. And so I stepped out on the leap of faith as God asked me to do. And then all the fear started settling in. Oh my gosh, what if I get these people over there? They're quarantined. Me being quarantined, no big deal, but I'm dealing with other people's lives here, you know?
Right.
And so I told him at the beginning, though, I'm like, I'm not telling you have to go on this trip. Like, if you go, this is on you, not me. Because that's scary, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And, but I just remember the Lord telling me, just do it. Just take a step and trust me. And to me, that taught me, how do you overcome being afraid? Just do it. Just take
do it.
Just take a leap of faith and do it. Just take a step no matter how scared you may be. Because I'll be honest, I walked out of that trip. That was the best trip. Like it was a prophetic trip.
Wow.
It shifted everything for Comfort My People. And in fact, it opened back up the country to other missionaries for Rwanda because they couldn't believe we were doing it. And the moment that we left, Pastor Willie's phone was blowing up going, if they can do it, we're coming back. And so our obedience of stepping out and putting fear to the side is actually opening doors for other people oftentimes.
And you know what? Can we just talk for a minute about Africa?
Yeah.
You're a part of an organization, president of an organization called Comfort My People International.
Yeah.
You don't just do the B Circle. And I'm a part of that organization. Mm-hmm. And in February of next year, we're going to be going back to Africa. We're going to be conducting an event called Faith for Africa. Mm-hmm. And we are so excited about this event. I think this is a good time to talk about it. We are going to be taking 25 to 30 couples, and we're going to be placing them in their own hotel. They've never stayed in a hotel before.
Yeah.
We're going to keep them there for 2 days. We're having one event after another, teaching them how to work together as husband and wives, because one of the things that Pastor Willie tells us is they don't know how to do that.
Right.
We're going to teach them how to work together as husbands and wives. We're going to build their faith. We're going to teach them about healing. We're going to teach them about just normal, everyday things that we take for granted over here. We're going to show them how to work it over there. But in the process, they get to stay in a hotel. They're going to get a big banquet. We're giving the wives material for new dresses, and we're blessing them with a $25 love gift, which is huge over there. And we're so excited about that. And if you would like to be a part of that, for $200 a couple, you can make a reality of a minister's conference real for this pastor and his wife. Where could they reach out to if they wanted to send us $200 to support those couples?
You can do on Cash App. It's CMPI 23. And you can also follow us on Facebook, Comfort My People International, and DM us there. That'll get you. So social media is the best way, or Cash App.
So we are stepping out in faith to do that.
Yeah.
And there's been some fear attached to that, hasn't there?
Yeah.
We've had to cast down imagination and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. We've had to bring some things into captivity in our thoughts, because the enemy says you can't do that. And, how are you going to get this done? And, we're looking at thousands of dollars.
Yeah. It's a big budget.
By the time this is already all said and done. But we're sitting here today with about 15 couples already sponsored. So, we just want to get 10 to 15 more. So if you're interested in that, reach out to us, or you can email us here at the bcircle@gmail.com. We would love to share this with you. But one of the things that we're doing to combat fear in this endeavor is we're just doing it.
We're just doing it. We're stepping out. And when you take a step, God always meets you.
Always.
Always.
Yes. Amen.
Yeah. So, Pastor Julie, what do you do to overcome fear?
Well, let me just tell you.
Oh, my. Naked and afraid.
No, I don't do that. Let me just tell you. I struggled for years with fear. Now, you guys, you will honestly be shocked. This will be an honest shock to you. I struggled with fear of acceptance.
Oh, wow.
For years and years. And I had a minister pray with me, because I said to them, I said, I just want everybody to love me. And he said, darling, not everybody's going to love you.
Never.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's okay.
It is okay.
I didn't know that, though. I thought you had to love me and accept me. I didn't know that even if you didn't accept me, you could still love me. Yeah. And so that was like probably the biggest time in my life where spiritually I struggled, because I didn't understand the difference. And so I just asked them to pray for me. And actually I went on a fast about that. It was that traumatic for me. I fasted for about 16 days. And finally, the Lord gave me a release. I said, Lord, I don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't want to struggle with this anymore. It got so bad. Like it was causing, I was leading worship back then, and it was causing me to struggle and not do the best to God, or give God my best. And that it was just struggle in other areas of my life, because acceptance. If you did not accept me, I felt beaten down. I felt like, I wasn't worthy, and all of these things, because I had put so much of my thoughts into what man thought of me. I lost track of what God thought of me. Yeah. And that's why you hear me say all the time, it don't matter. What God thinks of you is all that really matters.
True.
I tell people I have 2 people to answer to, God and my husband.
Yeah.
That's right.
And as long as they're both pleased with me, I'm sorry if you're not.
Yeah.
So I went on a fast. Yeah. I went on a fast when I struggled with that fear. I've had other little things that I've been afraid of, but usually that my husband gets right behind me and says, you're doing it anyways.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, he pushes me to do the things.
Yeah. How about you, Breeze?
I think it's the fear of being out of control. not having control.
Okay.
And that stemmed from even just as a child feeling that, and so anytime I would feel, or even to this day, because it's something that I'm still working on, and when I feel that I'm not, like, things are just kind of not, how do I word that? Like, things are out of control. It puts me, it'll sometimes, like, put me in a place of anxiety, because I used to struggle with anxiety really bad, to the point of, I tell this story because I have to laugh about it now, but I used to have these awful panic attacks, and I'd start hyperventilating, and I would be afraid to even be alone. Like, Colton couldn't go somewhere, my husband, and I would just, like, I'd freak out because and it was just weird. It was crazy. And one night I was hyperventilating, and he just straight up came up and smacked me, and was, and had to bring me out of that panic attack, because it was so, like, but I had to surrender it to the Lord. And it's a constant everyday thing to this day. And sometimes I'll notice, like, with just some different situations that we're facing, I'll kind of start feeling anxious, and my body will start, like, doing, like, this, like, I just,
twitchy.
And I have to tell myself, no, I'm not going to be anxious right now. I'm not going to be afraid, because a lot of it is feeling like I can't control that, but knowing that I don't need to control that. Because the one who can control it is God.
Right.
And so right now, that is, definitely not where I was years ago, when it would literally take my breath away. But it feels a lot better now, knowing, that when I feel that way, I know what to go back to. And that is ultimately God is in control. And so, and just releasing it in the moment of being like, okay, all right, it's fine. Everything's going to be okay. And I just need to, because for me, it's a day by day thing, and reminding myself. So,
What about you?
Oh my goodness. I was steeped in fear. I was afraid to be alone. I was afraid to stay by myself. I was afraid of everything. And I used to try to figure out, where did this fear come from? Because, I could be left by myself, and I just knew somebody was coming in the window to get me. I could lay there. I could hear the window being raised. I just knew. And then I would try to tell myself, all the houses on this block, why would they choose your house?
I don't mean to laugh, but that's true.
It's true.
Like, why would they choose me?
All the houses. But I had to discover where the fear came from.
Yeah.
So as I learned the word, that God has not given me a spirit of fear, but a power and love and a sound mind, begin to learn the word. The Lord took me back one time to my little girl life, when my grandmother would come to stay with us. When my parents would leave, she was from a little small town in Kentucky. So when she would come to our town, it was a big town, and we would go to church. And when we would get home from church, my grandmother would get a knife, a butcher knife, and go in every room, look under the beds, look in the closets with this knife in her hand.
Wow.
And we would go with her.
Every room.
With this knife in her hand. And the Lord revealed to me, that's where fear took root. My grandmother was a wonderful woman. She loved the Lord, but she was operating in fear.
Right.
And she transferred that to me.
Yeah.
So what I realized, okay, she was afraid to stay by herself.
Yeah.
Right.
So she was checking to see if someone got in the house, if someone was there. And I can still see them big old knives, have that big old knife in her hand, looking.
Yeah.
And so subsequently, I was afraid
My Lord.
of the dark, afraid to be by myself, afraid to be in a room alone. I was afraid of everything.
Wow.
And my loving grandmother did that to me. She didn't know she was doing it to me.
Right.
But she did, and I had to break that.
Yeah.
Right. It's where it was
I had to break that. And I broke that and won the battle over that fear, only to have to start fighting a battle of another fear.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, because fear, it's an equal opportunity pleaser.
Yeah.
Right. It sure is.
I'm telling you, it'll sneak up on you when you least expect it.
It will.
You know, like you said, a fear of acceptance, a fear of, are they going to like me? A fear of, are they talking about me? A
Right.
fear of, did I say that right? A fear of, keeping up with everybody.
Right.
Fear. And the world is full of fear.
And
Yeah.
it's crippling if
It's
you allow
crippling.
it to be. It is, if you don't take hold of it. You know, something else that I thought of is God wants to push us beyond our fears and into the faith realm.
Oh, that's good.
Because even if we think about it, when we got saved, that was a faith decision. We could have been fearful of, what if this doesn't turn out all the word says it's going to be? What if? Well, there's always going to be what ifs. Always. And so you've got to decide, no, I'm taking a leap of faith. I am jumping. I'm going to just do it because, Brother Sean told me one time, God is so big that if you just shoot in any direction, he's gracious enough to just guide you. Because in that point in my life, I was going, what do I do? Do I go this direction? Do I do this? All of these things that God is offering me, like, they're all good, and how do you decide? And when he said that it was almost like the release of the fear of, okay, if I mess up, he's still going to be there to guide me.
Right.
I don't have to battle that fear. I'm still going to be okay. And just realizing he's a big God.
And that just reminds me of David. David said, if I make my bed in hell, you're there. Wherever I go,
Wherever. Yeah.
you're there.
Yes.
God is always there. And he's there. And I think we forget sometimes that if we're in fear, we're not in faith.
Yes.
Because if we're operating in a spirit of fear, we cannot operate in faith.
Right.
Faith and fear don't work together.
That's
They
right.
are not cousins.
That's right.
They are not. They're opposites.
They're opposites.
They don't
Yep.
work together. So we can't say we're in faith and be afraid.
Yeah. It's truth.
That's very true.
We got to take that fear captive at any cost.
Yep.
At any cost. And I think when we operate or live in fear, we minimize God and magnify what we're afraid of. And we forget God's bigger than all of that. God's more than capable of whatever. I was thinking yesterday when I was driving, I was like, what would happen if, because my brain goes here, I'm like, man, I watched that one horror show that one time, and that lady pulled over at a gas station, and she went in to pay, and when she got in her car, I was like, so what would I do if that ever happened to me? And instantly I said to myself, I probably would start speaking in tongues, and I probably would start praying. And then I was thinking, would I really do that? Or would I be like, oh my God, don't kill me? Because I was like, well, that's a dumb thing to even think about, Julie. I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid to be by myself. I'm not afraid to be alone. I'm not afraid. My mom was super independent when she was younger. She drove everywhere by herself,
Sure.
So that's never been a fear for me. But I began to think about that. What would I do?
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was like, oh, you know what? I probably would start speaking in tongues. I'd probably be like, you know what? You can do what you want, but God is going to deliver me from this mess.
That's right.
And so instead of magnifying what was going on, magnify God, let that fear shrink.
I love what you said that Sean said about, God is already there. And I had to go to do a women's conference, and I had to go by myself. And the hotel that they put you in this particular place, it's not in the best area, but it's close to their church, so they always put you there. So I was dreading it because I thought a bunch of truckers stay there. And I was so dreading it because I thought, my husband was too, because he stayed there before, and he's like, why don't we just get you another motel? You go get another motel yourself. And I'm like, I just couldn't do it, So I got there to the hotel, checked in during the day. You're not afraid in the day at all. Come on,
Yeah.
Right.
But that night I was so dreading, and I was like, Lord, I just dread walking to my room.
Right.
I'm just being honest. You dread walking to your room.
Absolutely.
So when I got there, another dear lady that speaks at this conference every year too, she was there, and I was talking to her, and I said, hey, will you and your husband follow me back to my room tonight? Just make sure I get in, because they have a pet and this hotel don't take pets, so they have to stay in another hotel. She said, absolutely. Well, this other woman walks up and she heard our conversation, and I had never met her, which I got to know her, and her husband preached for them this year in West Virginia. It was wonderful. But anyway, she goes, I'm staying in that motel, me and my friends. And she said, we work for the FBI and we're packing. She said, we'll follow you to your room and we'll see you get in your hotel room. And she said, put my number in your phone, and if you hear anything, you call me and I'll be at your door. Well, that might sound simple and crazy, but listen, that's what I needed.
Absolutely.
Right. And so God goes before us. Mm-hmm. He prepares a way for us, even in our fears.
Yeah.
He is there.
He's there.
Even in our crazy scared moments and our scared thoughts, he's there. And he will always provide for you if you trust him.
Yeah.
And if you believe him. To me, there's just that, it's moments like that when you just stop and you just say, wow, God, you love me.
Yeah.
You really love me. My picture really is on your refrigerator.
I
mean, I knew it was, but now I really know that it is. I know that I'm your favorite. And you're just like, I know I'm your favorite when you do things like that.
Yeah, and he just works it out.
Just works it out. We don't have to be afraid. We don't have to be afraid.
We don't.
We do not have to be afraid. That means, 1,000 will fall at my right and 10 at my left, but it won't come nigh my dwelling.
Nope.
He'll encamp around about us. Yeah.
I pray that over my kids all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Because 2 of them are married and grown, and, they're all grown. Kylie thinks she's grown, but, but two of them have husbands.
Or Kylie.
I know.
I'm sorry, Kylie.
Girl. I love you so much. But I pray that around her all the time because I don't necessarily trust the people she hangs with.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm like, God, I know she has to make a decision, so I just pray. Nothing come near.
Nothing come nigh her dwelling.
Nothing, God, whatever it is.
Right.
I don't care if you have to put every one of your biggest, strongest angels.
Absolutely.
Do that because I pray because that's not a fear for me, but it is a concern.
Right. Amen.
And I want to cover her in that prayer. So I do that all the time. I do it all the time.
So you have to stay in faith.
Yeah.
When you're praying that prayer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because there, I don't know about you, but there's times and I'm honestly, please hear my heart. I'm not throwing her under the bus. I'm not. But, she makes decisions that are hard for me to understand.
Sure.
Hard for me to accept. And I always tell her, I told her a couple weeks ago, hey, I'm praying for you. I dedicated you as a child. She fought to live. I mean, she literally fought to be here. So I know she's got to fight in her.
Amen.
And so I have to pray to protect not only her physical, but I always speak to the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I always speak to the spirit.
Because we're spirit first.
Yep.
I think we forget that.
We do.
We forget that we're spirit first. But listen, we don't want you to be afraid. Whatever you're walking in right now, whatever the enemy's trying to bring at you to cause you to be cast down, to cause you to be afraid, just remember, the Lord's your refuge.
That's right.
Your Most High God. If you dwell in the secret place of the Most High, you'll abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I can say of the Lord, He's my refuge. He's my strength. He's my courage. He's everything that I need in the time of trouble.
Right.
David said, whom shall I fear?
That's right. Whom
shall I fear? We don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be afraid. So go walk in faith. Don't be afraid. Face your fears. Go to Africa. Go to Russia. Go wherever that you have the call of God on your life to go and enjoy every minute of it without fear because God's got you. And we love you. The B Circle does.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time. Go be all that God's called you to be.
Thanks for watching or listening to The B Circle. If this week's podcast helped you, or if you want to know more, please contact us at thebcircle@gmail.com. Join us next week for more. Remember, be all that God's called you to be.